Hi, this is Sherry from WholeFoodsFamily.com. This is my friend Heather Mowat, and today we're going to be making kefir water. So, kefir water is basically grains. I'm sure you've heard of kefir milk before.
Yes.
So this is basically kefir grains that are used to culture water instead of milk. So it's great for people who are lactose intolerant and who can't start with milk products but still want to have a really good probiotic.
Yes.
So I'll just pull them out so you can see what they look like. Okay, cameraman. Can you see them? Okay, so they're just little tiny grains. And to make a batch of kefir about the size of a quart jar, you need to have at least 1 tablespoon of kefir grains. So we'll just put, this is super easy. We're gonna actually put the kefir grains into the nut milk bag, and this is also a sprout bag. So any kind of bag that you can use for nut milk or for sprouting will work really well to put the grains in. And the reason you wanna do that is because if you don't, you're gonna have like pieces of orange peel falling in or seeds. And it's going to be really annoying to clean it out. So after doing this for about a month or so, I started to find myself resisting and thinking, oh, why do I have to pick this out? And, you know, something that's actually not a lot of work started to feel a bit like work. And, you know, most of us don't have a lot of time, and being busy mothers, we kind of want things to be as simple as possible. So I thought of this.
Where do you find these, Sherry? Are they easy to find?
You could probably find them at like a health food store or like a bulk food store. I found mine in a really cute little store called, I think it was called Good Earth. Maybe not, I'm not sure. Actually, it's in Edmonton. Do you remember what that store is called? We'll just give a plug to them. There's like a store in Edmonton. It was like on the top. And then
Earth's General Store.
Earth's General Store, yes. I got it, Earth's General Store. And it's a really great store. And they have a lot of environmental, like sustainable living type of products. So this is also something that you can use to if you buy groceries and you don't want to buy plastic bags, you can bring these to the store and put your, this is super small, you can get big ones, and you'd put your produce in there.
Oh,
so
that's a great idea.
You don't have to bring any, or use up any plastic. So you're just bringing your own. So I was looking for something that would keep the kefir grains clean, so I could just pull them out and rinse them instead of having to pick through them to clean them that way. And also it needs to be able to breathe, so it has these little holes in it. And I wasn't sure if it would work the first time, if the kefir grains had to be, completely exposed, but they culture the whole water even though they're stuck in this bag. So just, you don't need this at all, but if you're gonna be doing this long term, it's gonna make your life easier. So you just put them inside. You only need 1. If you get grains, only a tablespoon of grains from someone, that will be enough, but 2 is fine as well. So you just close the bag up.
What is the liquid in this jar here, Sherry?
That is just kefir water from another batch. Okay. So it's just keeping it
and then you're just pulling out the grains.
Just the grains,
and them in the jar. Okay.
Some people, when I first got my grains, they said put a little bit of the other kefir water in. I don't tend to do that. It still works, but it doesn't matter. You can kind of fool around. It's pretty. It's not too finicky. Like for the most part, if I change different fruits or use the kefir from the last batch or not, it still works. So 1 quart jar, and then you put in 1/4 of a piece of fruit. So here we have 1/4 of an orange, and the orange is just gonna flavor it.
And can it be any kind of fruit?
Pretty much.
Does it have to be citrus?
It doesn't have to be citrus.
Okay.
You can experiment. If you look all over the internet, you'll find different recipes that different people use. We tend to use citrus around our house because it's simple. Just cut it in quarters. So you'd use 1/4
add a
per
nice
jar.
Flavor too, right?
Yeah, exactly. There was a day where I actually had no fruit in my house, and I actually just put sugar in, and it still had the tart lactic acid type of flavor, but bubbly, as though there was a piece of fruit in there, so it still was quite flavorful.
So the purpose of the fruit is
mostly to flavor it, but also to feed the kefir grains.
Right, because they eat sugar.
They eat sugar, yeah. But because they're living beings, you can't just use white sugar. You could, but eventually they would probably die or just not be working as well because they need minerals, just like we need minerals. So what I'm using here is a brand of sugar called panela. It's an unrefined cane sugar. So oftentimes, if you go to the health food store and you get like a organic sugar, just because it's organic doesn't mean it's unrefined. If it's unrefined, then it has the most minerals that sugar can have, and then that's going to be giving as much nutrition to the kefir grains as possible to keep them as healthy as possible. So for a 1 quart jar, you put in 3 tablespoons of sugar. So there's 1.
So far in here you have 2 tablespoons of the grains,
Yep.
a quarter piece of fruit, and 3 tablespoons of
Sugar.
unrefined cane sugar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
the recipe.
That is the recipe. Super simple. And then all you do is put your water in.
So if you did use cane sugar that was more refined,
Yeah.
it would still work. It just wouldn't contain the same amount of nutrition or
For the kefir
kefir.
grains, but they would still culture the water for you just
Okay.
fine. But if you, on a long-term basis, for example, these grains, the person who gave them back to me, because basically they're constantly growing, so you have too many and then you give them away to people. The person who gave me these, I was using a unrefined sugar, and her kefir grains are much bigger and much healthier looking than if you use, like I had my mom do some with not like a little bit refined organic sugar.
Right.
And hers looked a lot different. And
So
they didn't get as
smaller
big. They were smaller.
Less formed. Maybe?
Less, yeah, just size wise,
Yeah.
there was a difference.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that it doesn't work. Like, it'll still work totally fine, but if you want a really healthy kefir grain, then the unrefined sugar is the best. I'm just going to put a little bit of more water in here because I didn't put enough through my filter. Sorry guys, it's real life around here. Okay. So, once you've done this, you basically fill the glass jar so that there's an inch of airspace in the top. The purpose of that is that because this is also a living being, it needs to breathe. So when you put it on the shelf, you're not going to put the lid on tight. You're just going to simply put it on, but you're not going to tighten it so that it can still breathe. And then you're going to let it sit on your counter for 48 hours. And once 48 hours hits, it's going to be the perfect amount of bubbles. So it's going to taste almost like pop. It's going to be bubbly, like it's carbonated, but it won't really be carbonated at all. And so basically you're going to have a probiotic drink that you made yourself at home that's way more potent than anything you can get at the health food store and way cheaper.
And it's delicious. I tried it for the first time tonight.
Yeah, absolutely delicious. My children call it pop, and they ask for pop at bedtime, and finally I can say yes, and that makes me feel really good. There's other things that you can do with the kefir grains, like for example, if your child is addicted to orange juice or apple juice, you can basically take the grains, put them in the bottom of a quart jar, same amount of grains, 1 tablespoon to 2 tablespoons. You'd fill it half up with your commercial juice and half with water, and again, let it sit. Usually I've noticed that the juices tend to be ready faster than the kefir water. You'll notice it'll start to have a bubble film on top. I'll probably do another video for that later so that you can actually see what that looks like to know when that's done. But it's a great way of getting the sugar out of the juice. So you have a juice that was once dead and now it's full of probiotics, and most of the sugar is eaten up. So your child's not getting a huge dose of sugar. It's a little hard on the grains, so if you're going to do juice kefir, you want to do it separately than the water kefir. So you keep those grains aside so that you have one batch that's only doing water.
Right. So then just a quick question about that.
Yeah.
Would you then discard those grains that you used in the juice, or could you use them again in juice?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Keep using them in juice.
Right.
And I've never actually had any go. So I don't know. It's just sometimes you hear things and read things about other people's experiences and you kind of just go on it, but I don't have that experience. Because we only actually make the juice about once a month because it's kind of a treat in our family. And to my kids, this is enough pop. It's flavorful. You can use all sorts of different fruits for different flavors. If you go to my website, www.wholefoods.com, I have links to other people's websites as well who have really great recipes. So I can hook you up. But in our house, to keep things simple, we pretty much just use the citrus fruits because they're pretty inexpensive and just easy to chop and stick in. Okay, so once you've finished, okay, so let's just put the water in here.
The water in there.
Okay.
So you just leave.
So you're leaving an inch on the
just
top.
An inch there. Okay.
Yeah. Pretty basic. And then put the lid on, but not tight, but just so that it won't fall off. And then stick it aside for 24 hours, or for 48 hours actually. And then, so this is a batch that we have. This is a 24-hour batch. So I don't know if you can get a picture of the bubbling that's starting to happen in there, Kai.
Oh yeah, you can see that it's.
Yeah, it's starting to bubble.
Definitely
so if you tasted it and it wasn't ready, you would know it wasn't ready because it would taste like sugar water. Would not be tart at all. Just be, it might still have the bubble, but if it still tastes sweet, it's definitely not ready. It really needs 48 hours. Let's see. Did you get it? Okay. So that one's gonna be ready tomorrow night. We actually tend to do about 4 liters every day so that we have a batch always ready. So that will be ready for tomorrow. This one was ready today at supper time. My family couldn't wait to dig in, so half of it's gone. But basically what you want to do is put it into another bottle when it's at its most highest bubbly point. We actually should have put this in here at about probably 5 or 6. It's about 8, 9 right now. So it's settled down a little bit. But one way to keep the bubbly longer is to pour it into another jar and then let it sit on your counter with the lid on really tight overnight, and then stick it in the fridge, and then you'll keep that bubble. Even if it doesn't have the bubble, it's still going to be a probiotic, and it's still a lactic acid fermented drink. So even if what will happen, you'll know that it's gone too long if it starts to taste vinegary. If it tastes vinegary, it's still going to be really good for you, right? Because lactic acid foods feed beneficial bacteria. You're just not going to want to drink large amounts of it the same way that you would this. Yeah, and the bacteria content is probably changed as you go.
So you said to put it on the counter, leave it at room temperature, sealed tightly for another 12 hours.
Yes, so we're going to just leave this on the counter overnight and then put it in the fridge in the morning.
And then it will stay nice and bubbly.
It'll stay nice and
bubbly. And how long will
it
stay good or fresh in the fridge?
I don't know actually, because we always eat ours within the day. Yeah. But I probably will just continue its fermentation process a lot slower in the fridge. So if you left it too long, it would go to vinegar. So basically what happens is it has the bubble, the most bubbly part at 48 hours. Then it'll actually slightly start to go into a bit of alcohol content, like a really low amount of alcohol. But sometimes we've felt it, right? Like we've actually felt a little warming in our toes. But it's still probiotic, yeah. And it doesn't last
like that.
Yeah, it doesn't last that long. Actually, some places actually say, oh, maybe, don't overdo it with the kids because of that phase, but we've never had a problem with it. And when we do this at the right time, then it doesn't go to that phase when we're drinking it. But then it'll go to a vinegar flavor, and then you can use it in salad dressings. So now you have a probiotic salad dressing.
Wow.
And you don't have to
And you would just
buy
use
apple
that
cider.
in place of apple cider vinegar.
Yeah, or rice vinegar, whatever.
Okay.
We pretty much keep our vinegar simple. Like we have just apple cider vinegar is what we cook with in this house. We don't have any other kind of vinegar. But we can also use this when it turns to vinegar. So you can also use the grains and use it to make coconut kefir water as well, because coconut's really, really good for you, but it has a lot of, the water has a lot of sugar in it. So for people that need to avoid that, for blood sugar or for candida.
And that's really high in minerals, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that is how you make kefir. Is there any kind of questions that I might have missed? Any details?
I don't think so. It's pretty clear. And
it's pretty simple, hey?
Really excited to try my own first batch.
Yeah, totally. If you don't know where to get kefir grains, there's a lot of places online that sell them if you just Google it. Or how I found mine was I just found someone posting it on Facebook. So if you happen to live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, where I live, if you give me an email, go to my website, we can make arrangements for you to get some. If you take any of my classes or any services of mine, it's just a gift that I give. Or if you're friends or family or anyone. Just don't come knocking at my door. Okay, you gotta